Hey everyone, Sumo Spiffy here. This video is an invitation and an introduction to Bench Sumo, arguably the real grandpappy of all fantasy sumo games. If you're looking forward to the NFL season to get your fantasy football fix, or if you like fantasy games in general where you have a roster and change who's playing day to day or week to week, you might enjoy Bench. Outside of actual draft leagues, Bench Sumo is more like other fantasy sports than any other game on the planet, and I think some of you watching and listening to this will dig it. So how do you get started? It's simple enough. Go to benchsumo.sumogames.de. There will be a link in the description. Then click the link to create a Sumo Games player profile. As you can see in the upper left, there are several game links. This one account will let you play all of them, but I'm just trying to get you into Bench right now. I don't want to overwhelm you. So fill all of this out, and after you hit Create User, you should be automatically logged in. When you're back on the Bench Sumo site, hopefully you'll see this screen with the Basho entry form link lit up, and you can get right to playing. If everything's working right, you can skip the next chapter. If anything doesn't work quite right, like the Basho entry form button not being clickable, that's okay. Nothing broke. Sometimes the admins have to stop new users from joining the game until the new users contact the admins and ask for permission to join. That's because this isn't quite Yahoo Sports. It's a handful of people doing something good in their free time, and sometimes it's easier to put the brakes on new people joining than trying to stop, like, dickheads who found the place and started making troll accounts. The quickest way to get that permission is to go to the Sumo forum and make an account. Message Jaku Sotsu, his name's on the screen. You can also go to a thread in the Sumo Games area called Invitation to Play Bench Sumo and leave a message there. A link to the forum and that specific thread will be in the description. Once the admins see your request and give you access, then you're ready to play. The first thing you do is click the Basho entry form and then choose your roster of 10 wrestlers. There are a few limitations here. One, you have to pick one guy from each Sanyaku rank. For Terunofuji as the only Yokozuna, everyone's gonna have him. It doesn't matter if he doesn't fight. It just means that he'll be at the bottom of your lineup because he's not fighting, and you're essentially working with a group of 9 instead of 10. For Ozeki, pick whoever you like best. I like Kotozakura. If you like Hoshoryu, that's fine. Takakeisho, not the best pick in the world. But hey, if you just love yourself some hamster and you gotta go for it, go for it. Sekiwake, Abi Oonosato, Kirishima. I'm gonna go with Oonosato because he's been smashing everybody left, right, and center. Komusubi, Daisho, Hiradoumi. Hiradoumi has proven himself for real, but Daisho is still the veteran. He should do better. He's got much better odds of having a better record. You know, we gotta go with him. He's the easy pick. Maegashira is where this starts to get challenging. Every Basho, there's usually a few guys who are gimmies, and then it gets a little bit tougher. So in this case, Wakamoto Haru, the last time he was down here, he did great. So assuming he doesn't still have ill effects from his injury or doesn't get hurt again, he's a pretty easy choice. Likewise, Asanayama should smash, Wakataka Kage should double smash. Now what do we do? Well, I think Oshoma should do pretty well. He showed out really until he started getting up against the better competition, so he's still only at Maegashira 9. What he did last Basho, he should be able to mostly replicate. On a Banzuke where very few guys are standing out, that makes him a pretty good choice. But where do we go from here? For me, I'm gonna go with Takayasu, and that is a risky pick. I know it is. There's one piece of strategy that affects this game more than most, and that is, not only do you have to pick guys who you think are gonna get a good number of wins, but you really want to pick guys who you feel you can predict who they'll beat pretty well. Takayasu, when he's in form, I feel like it's pretty easy to see who he should beat and who he's gonna have trouble with. I can't say that for everybody. A lot of these guys, even though I think they are going to get a decent number of wins, like Onosho could end up 9-6, but the thing is, I don't know which 9 guys he's necessarily going to beat. I'll figure out a few, but he loses some matches in a very surprising way, so he's more unpredictable. Guys like Shodai, even if I thought Shodai was definitely going to go 8-7, I would have no idea who he's going to beat. But Takayasu feels very predictable. So I'm going to take the chance that he's in there for most or hopefully all of the Basho and get whatever I can out of him. And for the last pick, that last pick is always tough. I'm thinking about Midori Fuji because at Maegashira 10, he should do pretty well. But the thing is, with Midori Fuji, especially if he's struggling a little bit, he becomes very unpredictable to me. So in this case, I'm gonna go with Oho. I feel like I'm jinxing myself, but Oho, when he's really fighting well, it becomes easier to see who he should do well against. He becomes more predictable the harder he fights. If he can keep the effort up that he's shown the last few Bashos up in the Joy, I think he's actually going to be a pretty decent pick here. So this is my team: Hironofuji, Kotozakura, Oono Sato, Daisho, Wakamoto Haru, Takayasu, Oho, Oshoma, Asanoyama, and Wakataka Kage. Once you've picked your 10, scroll down, hit submit, and then you will need to hit confirm. You have to click twice to get your team set. Here we go. Here's your entry. I have my team. Signups for bench get cut off a couple days before the Basho, but once you're in and have confirmed your roster once, you can change who's on your team up until the day the Basho starts. Once everything kicks off, then it's time to decide how you want to set up your roster for day 1. Since it hasn't started, I can't show you the actual game screen, but I've replicated it on Google Sheets. You have 10 drop-down menus with your roster listed by rank. The first 5 are your active wrestlers for the day. The next 5 are your bench, but they're almost as important as the ones scoring you points. The reason is that each day, you go head-to-head against another player and their roster. If you score the most points, you win. But ties happen a lot, and if you're in a tie, the benches decide the winner. If the first guy on your bench won and the first guy on your opponent's bench lost, you win the tiebreaker. If both have the same result, the tiebreaker goes to the second on the bench, the third, and so on. There are tiebreakers beyond the benches if needed, but it's unbelievably rare that happens. So your goal here is to put all the guys who you think will win ahead of everyone who you think will lose, including the guys who you aren't putting in the point slots. For example, let's take the roster I put together and look at a possible day 1 schedule for him. Terunofuji is Kyujo in this case. He hasn't officially ruled himself out, but we're assuming for the moment he's not going to be in here. I'm going to put him at the bottom. I'm going to leave him there for the whole tournament. There is an option that you can choose to automatically put someone who's Kyujo at the bottom of your lineup. I highly recommend that you click it. But since for this example we're saying Teru is out, we're just going to put him at the bottom. Is there anyone else who has a really low chance of winning? Well, Wakamoto Haru really struggles against Abi. He's the only one who clearly is at a disadvantage, so I'm going to put him at the next lowest slot. Nobody else stands out as really going to struggle, so is there anybody on my team who looks like they're definitely going to win? Well, Oono Sato against Mitakeyumi. Mitakeyumi is going to be lucky just to get out of there with his ass intact. So Oono Sato is going to go into the top slot. Right behind him, Wakataka Kage just blew out Endo in that tournament in May where Endo did really well. So we gotta like Wakataka Kage. Kotozakura against Hiruto Umi, that should be a pretty easy win for Koto as well. Daisho is 3-1 against Gonoyama, and the only win from Gonoyama is when Daisho was sucking eggs a couple of Bashos ago. Asanoyama should absolutely blow out Chura Umi, so that's our lineup right there. Daisho, Asanoyama, and there's our 5 point scorers. But what do we do with Takayasu, Oho, and Oshoma? Oho is 3-1 against Takanosho. I think he's got a pretty good chance of winning there. Takayasu, if Kirishima is in pretty bad shape, Takayasu should absolutely blow him out. Takayasu generally comes into tournaments in pretty good shape, it's just what happens during the tournament. So I like Takayasu, I like Oho. Oshoma and Tamawashi have never fought, so it's really hard to say what's going to happen there. I picked Oshoma for the team because I think this is the kind of fight that he can win, that I think he should win more than half the time. But since that's more of an unknown quantity, this is an unknown matchup, I think Takayasu, then Oho, then Oshoma really makes a lot of sense. So that's an example lineup. Oono Sato looks like he should have the biggest blowout, so I put him in the top spot. Wakataka Kage and Kotozakura look like they have the next 2 easiest wins, so I put them at 3 points. And Daisho and Asanoyama are the next 2 guys who look like they have very winnable matchups. Everybody else I listed in order by the odds I think they have of winning their match, and then you do that for day 2, day 3, day 4, all the way till the end of the Basho. Now, as I just alluded to, bench sumo is a daily game. If you're a little behind, like if you watch NHK World or their YouTube channel and you see the matches a day after they happen, that's okay. After a couple days, you'll have as good an idea of how everyone's fighting as the rest of us. And if you're not sure you'll have time to set a lineup every day, you can create a new default order whenever you want, so at least your best guys are at the top. One last thing, the game has a mailing list through groups.io. If you click Find or Create a Group and look for Bench Sumo, you'll find it pretty easily. You don't have to get the emails either. The messages are all on groups.io, so you can read them there if you prefer. And there are lots of messages every tournament. Results, schedules, lots of cool statistics. There's a single elimination tournament called the KCC everyone gets to play automatically just by being part of the game without doing anything extra. There's even a team event based on how the members of each team perform each basho. The team is completely optional, but if you dig the game, think about joining one. And by one, I mean Team Sakura. We're legit the best. And that's Bench. It's like all great games. Easy to learn, difficult to master. If it sounds even a little interesting, give it a shot. If you don't like it, that's okay. I'm happy you tried something new. Now have a great day, and I'll see you soon.